newspaper reviewer Bayo is with us in the studios for today's newspaper review. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kingsley. Good morning. Good morning, Nigeria.
That's right. Bayo, I'm sure you must have picked it up when I was introducing to this edition of the program that my colleague is caught up in the MNK axis where there's a traffic gridlock. It began yesterday. And if you take a look at the photograph on the front page of the Leadership newspaper, you can see the traffic gridlock taken from yesterday's incidents. That's a logjam on Abuja Kefi Road as Army mounts checkpoint following intelligence report. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are 7 lanes trying to get in from the outskirts into Abuja city itself. Now, citing intelligence, Army blocks Abuja Kefi Road. That's the headline that accompanies that photograph. And a rider again, gunmen attack Uni Abuja and secondary school, abduct vice principal. And next story there, ICPC and DSS arrest 48 lecturers and others over exam malpractices. Let's go back to the top of the paper, just below the promotional strip ad there. It says, insiders explain how security agents get black market court orders. Insiders explain how security agents get black market court orders. Magistrates and customary court workers serve as merchants. The judges' boys make our operation easy. Northern elders give conditions for prescribing bandage. Page 4. 40 persons killed in Niger reprisal attacks. Anambra poll. Police deploys 63 mopol units. Police deploys 63 mopol units. Death toll in Lagos building collapse rises to 29. And Al Jazeera, that's the other paper we are having this morning, says in its lead story, again, gunmen attack Uni Abuja. Dawn narrowly escapes, not escaped, and students relocate home. Kidnappers demand 300 million naira for release of abducted lecturers and children, and vice principal seized in separate incident. And below that, Anambra election not worth anybody's blood. That's according to Bishop Hassan Kuka. Plateau Assembly crisis gets messier. GOC laments rising drug use by soldiers in Northeast. And Air Nigeria. Federal government approves fresh 6.25 billion naira for consultancy despite non-takeoff. Reps fume as AGF's office, that's Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, budgets 36 million naira to battle wild animals, to pay attachés 425 naira to $1 exchange rate against federal government's 410 naira. Power Minister unable to defend 42 billion naira project. And we have another headline there on page 15 in greater detail, how Amechi misled Buhari to approve multi-billion naira contract. Bayo.
Thank you, Kingsley. Let's start with the issue situation in Abuja generally. Yesterday, another attack by 2 gunmen on the lecturer in the Department of Economics on the main campus of the Abuja University was foiled when the lecturer, who was ordered to lie down, summed up courage to resist and combat the 2 attackers. When he shouted, students came to his rescue. The gunmen fled, the students gave a chase, and when they flaunted their gun, the students had to give up and the men escaped. Meanwhile, there was information yesterday that the 6 persons that were abducted from the University of Abuja quarters had been released and were in Abuja. This news that pervaded the social media has been proven to be false. The spokesman for the Abuja Police Command confirmed that they could not confirm that information. Meanwhile, the public relations officer of the university, Habib Yakubu, says that they learned that the criminals are asking for 300 million for all the 6. They had contacted the family members and are demanding 50 million for each of the 6 persons, 2 professors and 2 children of one of the professors and 3 other staff of the university. Meanwhile, the latest on the 21-story building collapse in Lagos, death toll is now 29, of the bodies that have been recovered. Rescue operation has continued since Tuesday. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has described the incident as a national disaster. The governor was in Rome when he heard of the incident. He was at the conference and he traveled back to Nigeria immediately. Arrived Nigeria Tuesday night, went straight to the site. He returned there on Wednesday and he gave details that a panel of 5 men has been instituted to investigate the cause of the collapse. It is headed by Mr. Tayo Ayide, the president of Nigeria Institute of Town Planners, and a lawyer in a private firm is to serve as secretary. It is an independent panel. They have 30 days to complete the assignment. So far, bodies recovered 29. 9 persons were rescued alive. 3 of them have been discharged already from hospital. 6 others who were identified by age and names are continually receiving treatment. Meanwhile, the governor says that a help desk has been opened at the site for members of the family to seek inquiries about the persons of the family.
You know, Bayo, I don't want to get to another subject matter. Back to the 21-story structure that collapsed in Ikoyi. It is only now that the human dimension to the tragedy is beginning to unfold.
Yes.
What journalists would refer to as human interest stories. Earlier, we were told that there were about 50 persons who were reportedly trapped in the rubble. But there have been some very touching stories about some of those persons who are probably still under the rubble, assuming you know, they indeed were there. One was a personal assistant to the managing director of the property developer. She was said to have resumed work only the previous week and had accompanied her boss to the site. And suddenly, you had this collapse. And nobody has heard from or about her since then. Another story also has to do with a 22-year-old who was also at the site. He was said to be a youth corps member, an intern or so, and had gone to purchase lunch outside the construction site, and then went back into the construction site. And unfortunately, the building came down, and as we speak, nothing has been heard from or about that particular incident. So this is when a tragedy of this nature occurs. You know, sometimes we just say 50 persons. It's when you begin to see, you know, what happened to them and how, unfortunately, you know, they got in there. There was another story. I haven't read any contradiction of that. It was said to have been given out by Dele Momodu, who himself is also a journalist. There was a friend of the property developer who was traveling to the US. And so on his way, he was from Lagos, of course, he was going to the airport. It was on the island area. So he went to join his friend, who was a property developer, on that same site. And then, unfortunately, the building came down.
Very sad and touching stories. There's also a reverend gentleman who was at the site and has confirmed that he knows of about 20 persons who were working at the site who still have not been accounted for. So until when the rubbles are completely evacuated, before the quantum and the population of the persons who are trapped in there can actually be ascertained.
And then, you know, part of what we find elsewhere, I haven't seen that, at least from the television footage. I've seen a lot of earth-moving machines, you know, excavators, to try to get off the tons of bricks and concrete that have now pancaked into rubble. I wouldn't know whether the NEMA or SEMA or other agencies have sensors, because particularly in earthquake-prone locations,
yes,
they always have sensors. Persons, human beings can survive under such conditions for many days.
Yes.
And so you will need a sensor to detect whether there is any sign of any living being
yes,
from that environment. Some also use dogs to search, because you can catch the breath of a human being or some movement that dogs can detect, and then they begin to lead you to the right place. If you don't have those kinds of equipment or tools, this is the time to say, look, we need to invest in such things. We don't pray for such disasters, Bayo. Yes.
Now, to Anambra, a coalition of 18 registered political parties under the aegis of IPAC have called upon INEC and security agencies to ensure Saturday's Anambra governorship election is credible, fair, and also free. At a press conference in Abuja, they urged the youths in Anambra to eschew violence. The chairman of IPAC, Dr. Leonard Ezenwa, stressed that youth should shun political buccaneers whose stock in trade is to use them for electoral thuggery, ballot snatching, and rigging of the elections. Meanwhile, Anambra State Governor has declared Thursday, today, and Friday, tomorrow, work-free. Governor William Obano says that this is to, at the celebration of Public Service Day, that it is to enable residents prepare for a peaceful election on Saturday. He specifically called on workers to mobilize their neighbors because the election, according to him, must hold. Yesterday, the U.S. Embassy also in the statement says that it is paying close attention to Anambra elections and will not hesitate to impose consequences, including visa restrictions, from any persons who are identified to be responsible for election violence or thereafter. Now, the Anambra State INEC says that there is no going back on the Anambra elections slated for Saturday. Chairman INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who arrived Oka on Tuesday, says that the commission, in collaboration with all security agencies, are ready for a free, fair, and credible election. Also, the Commissioner of Police in Enugu, Mr. Echeng, says that all boundaries linking Anambra State with neighboring states are to be locked down by Thursday night. Vehicular movements will not be allowed into the state. This is part of the measure to guarantee security within and outside of the state. The Inspector General of Police too has made a pronouncement. He says the heavy deployment of security to Anambra is to reassure the people of adequate protection and ensure that the environment is peaceful for law-abiding citizens of Anambra to come out and freely exercise their franchise. He stressed that a message is clear. Political actors and electors should be law-abiding and are assured of their optimal security. For those who are contemplating any destabilizing elements, he says that there will be strict police action to deter that. Election security is designed to cover 3 senatorial districts comprising 21 local governments. So far, there are going to be about 326 wards and 5,720 polling units that will be manned by security men. All security agents are also conscious of their obligation, and they are under obligation by the rule of law and to abide strictly by a code of conduct. And in Plateau, a new commissioner of police has been posted. He is Bartholomew Nnamdi Onyeka. The IGP ordered the posting in accordance to when he redeployed CP Edward Ebuka back to the national headquarters for national engagements. The speaker, you will recall, Abok Ayuba, was impeached allegedly based on the petition signed by 16 members of the 24 members and later impeached by 7 members. Yakubu Sanda is the new speaker, and the others gathered at a hall in Bukuru to continue their plenary. That has heightened tension in Plateau. Youth groups are protesting. All the 2 youth groups, one supporting the deposed speaker, another supporting the new speaker, and that has heightened tension in Plateau. Meanwhile, the other story of concern is the issue of gas leakage in Lagos yesterday. It's happened in the Ikeja area, and the areas of concern were the Computer Village, the Awolowo Way under the bridge, Oba Akran, and other area. And the residents say that it came from construction activities from the road. And luckily, as Providence will had it, it was detected in time, and the security agencies and the NEMA and fire services warned residents not to play with naked light. It was contained, and the imminent danger was forestalled.
Well, again, that's another good news. Intervention by the appropriate authorities led to the arrest of that imminent danger, as you said. But something that needs to be pointed out, I recall many years ago when the gas pipelines were being buried to the industrial locations for gas to industry, which is part of what you would need to fire your plants, to fire your generators, and so on and so forth. It was by a company called GasLink. And at the time they did it, and up to some years ago, there were warning pillars indicating, gas pipeline. But in recent years, I haven't seen those pillars. Apparently, they've been damaged.
Pull them off. Yes.
Damaged or pulled off. So this is the time to not come back and say, look, okay, where is the route of the gas pipelines, and at what intervals do you need to put the warning hazard to say gas pipeline, so that for persons who are engaged in construction, again, this is part of the challenge that we face with construction in the country. People, they just dig anyhow, whether it's by human labor or it is by mechanical devices. They just go, okay, you want to construct a new road, you want to expand a road, just go there, and then the next thing you strike a pipeline. It's happened previously in a place called the Jegun in Lagos, and the earth-moving machine operator was the first person to be incinerated because there was an oil pipeline in that axis, and once it struck it, there was an explosion. And of course, properties were destroyed, and there were other fatalities. So part of what is required is that they should, as buyers have indicated, put again those gas warning hazards to say, look, gas pipeline, so that people would know.
Aside from that, even at construction sites, when you are laying pipes, there is need to demand for the site plan of the area so that you will know the electric cables, gas pipeline, and other underground facilities that have been provided. But most often than not, even in Abuja here, when they were laying cable for broadband, so many either water pipelines and other things were destroyed because it were done crudely without any guidance by any underground surface plan. So if such plans are available, it will go a long way in eliminating some of such hazards.
Bayo, deep thanks for being around today.
Thank you too.
See you again tomorrow. Okay, it's Good Morning Nigeria still on the network service of the NTA. We're taking a short break now. Where we return, we get ahead with our conversation segment, Anambra election and COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland.